some books, some decks, some ramblings. I'm not doing a Scorpio deck. It's a fun 10 of Swords. Do you see the vision? What am I doing? Hello everybody, it's Sylvie. Welcome or welcome back to Tarot Magpie. I hope you're doing all kinds of good today. This video is going to be my November decks on my desk. One I'm going to be reading and reading with this next month. October's been really interesting for my practice. You will obviously see more of that in my October wrap up in probably about a week. For the meantime, let's get into some November stuff. So some of this will be a bit of a spoiler for my October wrap up, but not really because I actually followed some of my October plans. Let's get into it. I am going to, I'm going to start with decks, and I'm going to start with this. Is, as you have seen many times before, this is my daily pull reading tarot journal. And I'm not doing a Scorpio deck because I am doing Drop 'em 78, and that is a card a day, and I simply can't keep up with two. I do obviously have a notebook. This is my Drop 'em 78 journal, which you've seen or will see. I'm doing a planner video, so you'll see more about this, but this is my little Drop 'em 78 journal to keep my notes in. I'm extending Thothtober throughout the rest of the year. So the Thoth is my main deck for Drop 'em 78. I'm saying all this, I'm assuming you know what Drop 'em 78 is, but I will link Estee's video below. So the Thoth is my main deck, and then I'm calibrating with the Outgrow Yourself, which is also a Thoth based deck, which is why I chose it. It felt like a bit of a easier way, and then I'm calibrating Thoth with Thoth. So yeah, they are obviously gorgeous together, as you'd expect, because they are based on the same, well, this is based on this deck. I'm really enjoying going through the Thoth card by card. I've been reading one of my Thoth books, which I'll show you in a minute, and then just looking at these two together, because I've never done this. I love the Outgrow Yourself. I use it all the time, but I have never compared it like to like with the Thoth before. Oh, it's so good. So that is the first two decks. That is my little daily practice that I'll be continuing through to the end of the year. So there's no Scorpio season deck. I'm sure I'll pick that practice back up once I finished Drop 'em 78. I know myself. There's already been days where I've had to like double up on a day of Drop 'em 78 because I've missed it. I know I'm not keeping up with two daily pull practices. So we're pausing my monthly tarot reading, my monthly daily pull, whatever it is that I call it. So next up, the decks that I'm going to be working with. I recently, in, what video was it? What did I pull this out? My emoji match decks. I can't remember what the tag is called. I'll link the video below or in the cards, but I pulled out the Raven's Dream Tarot as a response to one of the prompts. Reminded myself just how much I love this deck, and I decided that the decks I chose in November were going to be based around reconnecting with the Raven's Dream. I don't think I've actually said the name of this deck so far. This is the Raven's Dream by MJ Cullinane. It's an indie deck. I think it's currently out of print, but she may well have another printing at some point. It's completely beautiful. The colors in this are so dreamy, pun not intended. The colors are beautiful. I love the guidebook. I love this deck, and I've pulled it out for the occasional reading here and there, but I don't feel like I've really spent much time with it in quite some time. So that's what November is for. November is for reconnecting with the Raven's Dream, and I have selected a few decks that I can use with this. You know I love my big patchwork reading, you know I love my big mind mappy readings, and so I selected decks very intentionally that would read well with this in that kind of patchwork setup. First up alongside this is an oracle deck that I also feel like I've been neglecting. This is When Olga Speaks, currently out of print, but I know that the creator is planning another Kickstarter campaign, which I'm so excited. I'm so excited for that to happen. I desperately want the guidebook. I love this deck. I think it's incredible. I think the imagery is so impactful. So this is a Make Playing Cards edition that she put up briefly after the campaign ended for those who had wanted the deck. So I snagged myself a copy, and I know that she's been intending to run another campaign, and I'm very excited when that happens. When that does happen, you won't hear me shut up about it, because I want it to be successful, because I want the guidebook that she's written. So this is When Olga Speaks. It's a beautiful, beautiful deck, and I love how it looks with the Raven's Dream. So that's the two together. They're both collage, but they're different styles of collage. When Olga Speaks is this analog, and then the Raven's Dream is this like digital collage with drawing and different elements in. And they are just so wonderful together. And so I can use this as just a deck pair, or I can use them together in a larger reading. Next up, I will show you the other Oracle deck that I've picked to go with these. This is the Wild Unknown Pocket Archetypes. Again, with the collage, with the mixed media, this has some collagey elements. It's got these gorgeous watercolors and these ink line drawings. This is, as the title would suggest, this is an archetypes deck, and I really enjoy this in a big patchwork spread. I think it works really well in that kind of reading, like pulling one of these alongside a handful of other cards. It helps kind of draw things together or pull out themes in cards that I might not necessarily have looked for otherwise. It's a really great little deck. I say I've become such a Kim Krans convert. I've still only got 2 of her decks. I don't know why I haven't got the animal oracle yet that she's got. And I am hoping that her alchemy deck is going to come out in a mini pocket tin edition, because I think these are so cute, and I really want that deck. All that to say, this is in my November deck stack. The guidebook for this is really good, but it's really tiny. Like it's dead cute that it fits in the tin, and I think it's really cool, and I'm really grateful that this is the full guidebook. It's not been like shortened. It's just been made really compact, but the font is absolutely teeny tiny. It is impractical, but it is a really good guidebook. So it's worth having. It's tempting to get the full-size deck just to have a full-size guidebook. Could we focus, please? It is tempting to get the full-size deck just to have a full-size guidebook, but I don't want to spend that money. So I'm just squinting at this tiny guidebook instead. But that is the Pocket Archetypes. And then I've got 2 tarot decks that I'm also pairing with these. This is the Raven's Prophecy. And at first I was like, oh, there's no way this is gonna go. I was just, you know, I was picking up on the Raven theme. And I was like, oh, surely this isn't gonna go, it's not gonna work. But then, and I'll show you them all laid out together in a minute. I love it. I love it with them. I think the vibrancy of these colors, the black backgrounds, like it's a bit mysterious, it's a little bit magical, it's a little bit surreal. It just really, really works. And this is also a deck that I have been neglecting, so I'm excited to pull this out some more. Again, the focus is on reconnecting with the Raven's Dream, but I won't be upset at the chance to reconnect with these other decks a little bit more. I love it. I think it's beautiful. I really enjoy this deck anyway. Like, look at that moon. Oh, it's wonderful. Yeah, this also has a bit of a unique spin on it. Actually, none of these decks are traditional. This is the closest to a, you know, a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, is this Raven's Dream, but the imagery, not so much. And this has the Rider-Waite-Smith meanings in the Raven's Prophecy, but obviously the artwork again. The artwork, very distinct from it, and also the guidebook is also quite distinct from it. I've got the guidebook on a shelf somewhere, so I'll have to pull that out and pull that into rotation to make sure I have it on hand, but I can't wait to work with this. The Raven's Prophecy. And then finally for this deck selection, I have the Witch Sister, which is another one that is one I'm not hugely familiar with, because this one is a little bit newer to me. I got this shortly after it released earlier this year. I think it's so beautiful. The colors are just wonderful. I spoke about this recently in my autumn decks video, largely because of the color palette, largely because of the like witchy wildness of it. And that did also kind of remind me that it existed, reminded me that I really wanted to work with it. And then I thought it would work really well next to the Raven's Dream, and it certainly looks beautiful next to the Raven's Dream. So I'm excited to work with them all together. Again, this is not a traditional tarot. This, you know, the imagery is not traditional tarot, and the meanings are kind of there, but this has a grounding in specifically Scottish witchcraft history and folklore. There's a lot of Celtic mythology in there as well. And so it's also a little bit of like a learning opportunity, if you will. It's something a bit different. It's not a straightforward Rider-Waite-Smith clone by any stretch. And like I said in my Autumn Decks video, it feels seasonally appropriate. I'm wanting to get into it, and I think it works really nicely with this selection of decks. So I will show you. Okay, is that all in frame? I hope so. This is not the most like aesthetically pleasing layout I've ever come up with, but do you see the vision? Those yummy oranges. Okay, what have we got? The Four of Swords, the Six of Trees, which is Wands, Four of Swords, Six of Wands, Four of Wands. The Threshold and Communication, like the Harvest over here, the Rest and the Harvest, and the Celebration, the Threshold. Ooh, this is going to be so exciting to dig into. It is definitely not one that I can kind of come up with some really good interpretations on the fly. It's definitely going to be one that I sit with. So the Land is the world equivalent in the Witch Sister, the Ten of Coins, the Nine of Swords, Grace, and the Eternal Child. Grace next to the Nine of Swords is just beautiful. I can't wait. I think this is going to be a really delicious selection to work with. And I think they all go really well. I can mix and match them all. So it's a lovely little deck menu. Finally, there is one more deck in the mix for November. This is the JK Tarot reprint that Tarot Collectibles recently put out. I got the 1989 revised edition. I don't actually know the difference between the two. I do wish they'd put some like comparison images up, but as far as I can tell, I think this just has some slightly more saturated colors. And the reason this is my on-the-go deck is because it's just been a hot minute since I used a Rider-Waite-Smith clone, and this one's new and I want to play with it. It's completely beautiful. Look at these colors. I am thrilled to have this deck. The JK Waite is one that has been on like a wish list, but it's like a unicorn deck wish list because these go for such outrageous prices, like the originals, which I think was a large part of the motivation for Tarot Collectibles to make this printing. It's gorgeous. Like, oh, this Two of Swords. I'm so excited to work with this. I do still want the Albano weight, but the reason I wanted the Albano weight was because I wanted a fun, bright Rider-Waite-Smith clone. And this is the equivalent of that, so I'm very happy. I just think it's really cool. It's got a lot of the same, all of the same pretty much, elements and symbols as Pixie's artwork, but a lot of the directionality is different, I think, which I think is really cool because it's a Japanese created deck, so they've like flipped some of the directionality, which is really interesting. Like here, our Ten of Swords is going in a different direction, right? Ten of Swords, Ten of Wands. But yeah, so this is going to be my on-the-go deck. I will get a little bag for it, and I will have it out and about with me when I need to pull cards. Like it's a fun Ten of Swords. You don't often get to say that, you know? Like our Nine of Pentacles, rich bitch in her garden with her fabulous hat. I love it. The moustache on this King of Cups. It's great. So I'm extremely excited to have this and to have it be my like on the go everyday carry sort of deck. That is all of the decks that I wanted to share with you today, and I will now get into the books that I plan on reading and reading with in November. I'll start with the tarot. So Aleister Crowley's Lon Milo DuQuette's Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot. This is my companion to the Dropham 78. So I've been reading the write-up. This is more about the artwork on the card and the symbols, and some of the like snippets of communication between Lady Frida Harris and Crowley about the card. And then at the back here is the like interpretations, like divinatory meanings. So I've been enjoying this. I really want to get that other book, Angel Arians. Oh my goodness, I can't remember, but I want to get that, but that seems to be out of print, or at least hard to come by. So for the time being, I'm working with this. I do intend to also slowly work my way through all of the additional information about Crowley's Thoth. And then, like I showed you, I've got my little notebook, because this is a happy planner, so I can like take pages out and reorder things. So I've got my card notes up the front, and then I can put additional notes in here, and it's fun. I love a notebook. This is like the main companion to my Dropham 78. And then I'm also going to dig into Tarot for the Hard Work. So this is not exactly a handbook, but it's kind of a handbook, kind of a workbook, using the tarot as a lens and inspiration to do some, as the book says, confront racism and inspire collective healing. I bought this earlier this year. Was it when it came out, or was it just when I acquired it? I think that's irrelevant. I bought this earlier this year, and it's been on my shelf, and I just haven't dug into it. I was reminded that I have it, that I want to get into it a few weeks ago when I did my Why Don't I Have This Deck Yet video, and I was talking about 78 Acts of Liberation by Lane Smith. I think I got the title of the book wrong, and in that I was saying I want that book by Lane Smith, but this feels kind of similar in that they are both using tarot as a jumping off point, as the archetypes, using the archetypes as inspiration for some like collective change, healing. And I wanted to make sure I'd gotten into this before I got another book that's kind of a similar read. I don't know if they're necessarily similar reads, but they feel as though they've got similar goals, similar inspirations, and it just feels a bit redundant to have two books like that on my shelf that I haven't read yet. So I want to get into this, partly so I can buy another book, and isn't that always the way? I want to read the book I have so I can justify buying a new one, but I've heard so many good things. I really want to get into it. I bought it for a reason, so this is on the shelf. This is not strictly a guidebook, but it does have interpretations of the major arcana in here, so I'm anticipating that I will maybe pull this in as a reference when I'm doing a reading, if I need a reference for a major arcana card, or if I want a reference for a major arcana card, and then I can also just keep reading. So I don't think I'm necessarily going to read this front to back, but we will see. I just want to have it out, have it very accessible, and make a point of opening it up and reading it whenever I can. So that is Tarot for the Hard Work. Those are the only tarot books that I have on my list. That's not true. I also have, I just don't have a physical copy, I also have The Creative Tarot by Jessa Crispin, which is my Patreon's book club pick for November and December. So I will be working my way through that. So that's also on the list. I'm very excited to get into that. I know there's a few different creative tarot books, tarot as a tool for creativity, that kind of thing, and I'm excited to get to this one. I only just realized the other day that Jessa Crispin is the creator of the Spolia Tarot, which also, along with the original JK Way, on my like unicorn never gonna happen deck wish list. I only connected those dots the other day, so I'm very much looking forward to getting into the Creative Tarot. Now that is all the tarot related books, but I have a few more. So Witch in Darkness by Kelly Ann Maddox. I have already started this. I am not racing through it because it's a little bit heavy, some of the topics of course. Magic for tough times, bad days, and moments of total catastrophe. It's not easy breezy, super fun stuff, but it's really, really good. So what I'm actually doing, which is what I did with her other book, is I'm listening to the audiobook. I'm kind of just listening to it cover to cover, and then I'll have like a grounding in the book, and I'll be able to come back and go to the contents and be able to say like, oh, I want XYZ. I want to go back to certain chapters, and I can go through and I can do some of the rituals, some of the journal prompts, which is what I've been doing with her first book. Oh my god, what is her first book called? Why is my brain just completely... Rebel Witch! There we go. Rebel Witch was her first book. That's what I did. I listened to the audiobook kind of without doing anything practical. I just listened to it. She narrates the audiobooks, they're really good. And then I am able to like go back to the book and kind of know what I want to go to and cherry pick the bits that are going to be useful for me in any given time. So I'm working my way through this. I'm so happy to have it. Love Kellyanne Maddox. Who doesn't? Really. Anyway, so that's the like witchy read that I've got going on. Then I've got a couple of non-fiction. So I think the time has come to actually read C.G. Jung's collective works, The Basics by Anne Yeoman and Kevin Liu. I bought this recently. I had this in my last haul. I think I had this in my September decks on my desk. Didn't even crack it open because I very intentionally had a huge quantity of books on that list. But I think now that I've started working with the Thoth, I think it feels like the time to get into this. I don't know specifically with the Thoth itself, but I know there's a lot of meat in the Venn diagram of like Jungian psychology and tarot stuff. And now that I'm in the Thoth, it feels like the time to get into this. So hopefully I will actually get to cracking this open, having a read, making some notes, familiarizing myself a little bit with Carl Jung. I never studied psychology, so I kind of don't have a grounding in it, but I'm excited to get into it. And then also a physics book, because why not? This I fully bought over a year ago. It's been sat on my shelf ever since. I have been really into this theme of stuff, this kind of nature, science, everything interconnects, everything can be mapped onto everything else. It's been a whole thing for me recently. I did a whole video on Patreon about it. Again, not to like plug my Patreon too much, but I did a whole video about how that's been interesting to me and the kind of different books and decks and things that feel like they fit in with that. Anywho, this is a beautiful question, Finding Nature's Deep Design by Frank Wilczek. And Frank Wilczek asks, is the world a work of art? I am so excited to get into this. I'm not gonna lie, I've somewhat forgotten what this is actually about, but I'm going to show you these beautiful color images so you have something to look at. And I know there's like fractals. I think it's the way that nature appears like it has been designed. And I personally am not of the opinion that nature was designed. That's not what I believe, but we've got like Pythagoras, Plato, Newton. It's blending physics and science, and then like other disciplines like philosophy, like maths. Symmetry. Ooh, beauty at the core of nature. I can't wait. This is so up my street. Obviously, it's why I bought it over a year ago. This is so in sync with what I've been really into lately, and I'm excited to get into it. I don't know what I certainly will not finish both of these in a single month. And then, you know, I expect I'll finish Witch in Darkness. That's the only book I'll finish this month of this list, but I'm really looking forward to getting into these, to making some notes, to making some connections. I've got this big old obsidian second brain where I put all of my notes about everything, and I get to interconnect it all and interweave everything, and it's a lot of fun for me. So that's it. That's everything that I had on my desk that I wanted to show you. Some books, some decks, some ramblings. November should be interesting. Socially speaking, it's a little bit of a quieter month. I'm not traveling loads. Christmas, the festive season, is on the horizon, and I know I'm going to be doing a lot of traveling over December, so I'm kind of bracing myself, hoping I can get as much solitude and productivity out of November as possible. But that's it from me. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching. I really hope you have enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've read any of these books, if you've worked with these decks. I'd love to hear what you think of my deck selection and pairing everything, because I feel like there's a lot of big energy in my deck selection, and I'm really excited to get into it. So if you want to see more from me, check out my Patreon, which is always linked in the description, along with a link to my Etsy if you'd like a reading. Give me a like if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.